Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AITA. In today's episode, AITA for not wanting my son to literally be named John Doe? AITA for blocking an Airbnb's view of my home? AITA for taking my parents' assignment too literally and being too honest? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. AITA for not wanting my son to literally be named John Doe? So my last name is Doe. It hasn't affected my life much apart from occasionally being called Dodo while growing up or friends spelling it Doe as a joke, and I'm generally pretty neutral about it. My wife is 6 months pregnant and wants to name our future son after her grandfather, who died of cancer in September. His name was John. I liked her grandfather, and I know he and my wife were very close, but I won't even consider it, not even for our son's middle name. I feel that's just setting him up a world of problems, especially when he grows up and has to apply for jobs. Nobody's going to believe John Doe is his real name. My wife thinks I'm being an asshole for vetoing a name with a strong family connection and says I'm exaggerating the issues he would face. AITA? NTA. Naming your kid John Doe is a stupid idea. He'd share a name with unidentified male corpses. Maybe Grandpa had a middle name? He'd share a name with unidentified male corpses. Other reasons create greater cause for concern, but it's a big deal when you're a kid and someone has the same name as you, having them usually be corpses. Yikes. Nah. That child will have that name for a lifetime. Don't make a baby's life difficult from the start by naming him that. Suggest that you name him after the grandfather's middle name. Here's an article where someone is actually named John Doe and some of the issues he has, getting stopped and interviewed by airport security every time. I get why your wife wants to recognize her grandfather, but she has to know how much trouble this will cause in the future. This should be higher. It may be good to share that article with his wife so she can see he's not just being paranoid. John Doe is literally the name given to every unidentifiable male murder victim. That's not the name you want to burden your child with. John Doe is literally a type of lorem ipsum. People will suspect it from a fake name. NTA, please don't subject a child to this. Honor the family member with a middle name. NTA, I have a friend who's named John Doe. It's caused him a world of trouble growing and even worse now as an adult. He almost got arrested once when a police officer asked him for his name after a serious accident and he didn't have identification on him. He also mentioned that he doesn't get interviews as often as his twin with a normal name. Nah. I do think John Doe would be problematic, but also get why she wants the name. I assume she took your last name so the child can't have hers or a hyphenated one? I do think you could compromise on the middle name. No one shortens those, so something Jonathan Doe wouldn't raise a lot of flags. AITA for blocking an Airbnb's view of my home? Last year we bought a historical property with a fair-sized chunk of land. The previous owners had ran it as a small hotel but couldn't keep up with the pace at their age anymore. We turned the property back into a private residence. A main country road runs right by the longest edge of the unfenced garden, so we decided to plant hedges for privacy and to block off access in case my nephews visit and play football, etc. There is a small gardener's cottage right at the edge of this line, which was sold separately when we bought our home. We made sure to keep any bushes between us and them on our side of the property line. We were unaware that the elderly couple had sold the cottage to a relative of theirs and that he had planned to turn it into an Airbnb. We only know this now as after a summer of growth the owner had finally noticed the small hedge and realized what we'd done. He and the couple have sent official-looking letters stating we are impeding their reasonable enjoyment of the property, as they had planned to market the cottage as part of the property with views of a historical landmark, and once our hedge is full height that view will be greatly diminished if not almost entirely gone. So AITA for potentially damaging someone's income by planting these hedges? NTA. They had planned to market the cottage as part of the property with views of a historical landmark. Too bad. We are impeding their reasonable enjoyment of the property. No, you're impeding their enjoyment of your property. As is your right. Sounds like now is the perfect time to put up a privacy fence. 8 feet, if possible. NTA. If FOPI wants another angle, they could check with the local authority whether short-term rentals are even allowed. Our city doesn't, unless it's a proper hotel/motel. NTA. Unless they plan on paying you for your landscaping and upkeep of the historical property that you own. Marketing their property as being able to look at yours 24/7 sets you up to have your privacy violated. They know they don't have any legal leg to stand on, or they would have gone that route instead of sending you fake letters, which could be illegal depending on context. Privacy was our original concern. We know it's a nice house and fairly in the middle of nowhere, so we naturally get a lot of people staring as they drive or walk by. We don't mind so much that they can see the house at all, it's just if we're outside, or in the kitchen on an evening, that side of the house, you feel somewhat like a zoo animal at times. I have a right to your property for my viewing pleasure. LOL, yeah, that's not how it works. You're our NTA. Not just that, but I have the right to make money by using the view of your home as a selling point for our shitty wannabe hotel. NTA, nip this in the bud, get a lawyer and have them send an official letter to them to not harass you. This is your private property now and they have no say on what you do with it. NTA, their plan was to make money by having people look at you in your private home. That is not reasonable enjoyment. Ha ha ha, no. NTA. Reasonable enjoyment of property doesn't include views. Which is why property that can't be built out or have obstructed views is so valuable. What's more, you're absolutely entitled to privacy on your own property, no one else has a right to view you. NTA. The very reason you need the hedge seems to be the main enticement of the Airbnb. Their primary marketing strategy is to sit and watch you, to infringe on your privacy. They're perfectly illustrating why you need the hedge. To protect your privacy from the staring eyes of their guests. Enjoy your hedge. I'd put up a private property sign on their side if the hedge, just to add a bit of salt, but that's just me. Or hang a big screen TV with a live cam of the local sewage treatment plant. AITA for taking my parents' assignment too literally and being too honest? My parents called for a family meeting last Sunday and said they were realizing that we didn't have the happy little tight-knit family they had expected to have. They expressed that we had all been closer when we were little kids. For context, it's me, 16M, my brother James, 14M, and my other brother Easton, 12M. But now it felt like we never spent time as brothers, especially me and James, and that sharing a room, they would have expected more from us. My parents said they wanted us to all be totally open and honest about how we felt and to express if we had any issues with the family to get out of the way. They said they weren't going to take a turn until after the three of us spoke first. And we couldn't leave until we opened up and said everything. I told them I felt like they had somewhat unrealistic goals, that they ignored some stuff that had been mentioned to them in the past that would have made the lack of closeness less of a surprise, and that it was weird for them to pretend they had no idea of anything going on. I admitted that I hate sharing a room with James. That personality-wise, he and I clash, and that he relies too much on being the younger brother and getting his own way, which annoys me. I said I had told them this before. James will set up these sleepover nights for him and me on the floor, and he'll expect me to play football outside with him until it's close to midnight and then go in and watch movies that bore me to tears and sleep in our sleeping bags instead of our beds. I said he started insisting we do things he enjoys when we were like 8 and 10, and ever since that point hanging out with him has not been fun for me, it has not made me feel closer to him. I admitted that I would rather share with Easton. I also said I had brought this stuff to my parents' attention before. And even complained when he was messing up my side of the room and left me to clean up, which my parents expected me to do instead of him. I also mentioned that I hate hanging out with his friends who I have nothing in common with. I told my parents they overlooked James being mean to Easton. That it might be due to jealousy and resentment that I'm closer to Easton, or it might be due to Easton being the youngest. But they would never let me say to James what James can say to Easton. I also said they treat us like we're little kids. They will tell us to go hang with much younger kids and do their activities at family houses, and they'll tell us no video games until we play outside. And that even after 16 years of knowing me, they still can't accept that I don't like sports, and it's not my idea of fun to kick a ball or run around, and it never has been. James was upset about the stuff I said about him. Especially about not wanting to hang out with him and his friends. My parents were furious with me and said I had no right to say all that. I said I was doing what they asked, and they said that wasn't what they asked for. AITA? NTA. Your parents didn't think this through. You did, though. If you had a therapist in the room, they would have applauded you for getting to the heart of the matter, as long as you weren't gratuitously cruel to your mid-bro in how you said it, such as by name-calling, contemptuous looks, etc. You deserved an A here. You understood the assignment perfectly and were open and honest. Parents, why don't you guys have the cookie-cutter relationship we've projected onto you? Be completely honest. Opie answers honestly. Parents, surprised Pikachu face. Maybe they shouldn't be asking questions they don't want the honest answers to. OP is NTA. NTA, and your parents were fools to think a conversation like that was ever going to go well. I guess just like pretending you were one big, happy family, you were supposed to lie to preserve the illusion. They are completely wrong for being upset with you. Truth hurts sometimes. I honestly think a big part of the overall issue is how they still see us as like 6, 4, and 2 instead of 16, 14, and 12. My parents said they wanted us to all be totally open and honest about how we felt and to express if we had any issues with the family to get out of the way. My parents were furious with me and said I had no right to say all that. I said I was doing what they asked, and they said that wasn't what they asked for. That's exactly what they asked for. NTA. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.